and ultimately lifting farm gate returns.
Question number 11, Carmel Sepuloni.
To the Minister for Social Development, what advice did she receive from the Privacy Commissioner during the development of the private client data sharing requirements for contracted social services?
Mr Speaker.
The Honourable Anne Tolley.
Mr Speaker, I did not directly receive any advice from the Privacy Commissioner during the development of the proposal to collect individual client-level data. I did, however, receive a letter from the Privacy Commissioner on the 10th of March this year regarding his provisional conclusion of his inquiry into the proposal to collect individual client-level data. I had a constructive meeting with the Privacy Commissioner on the 14th of March to discuss this, and I understand that the Office of the Privacy Commissioner has been working closely with the Ministry of Social Development throughout the development of this proposal to ensure clients' privacy rights are protected.
Supplementary question.
Supplementary question, Carmel Sepuloni.
How can we trust that the government is, quote, working collaboratively with the Privacy Commissioner, end quote, and, quote, will listen to any recommendations that he has to make, end quote, when she ignored the recommendations of the Privacy Commissioner during the development of the Children, Young Persons and Their Families Oranga Tamariki legislation bill?
The Honourable Anne Tolley.
Well, Mr Speaker, I refute the assertions in that question.
Supplementary question.
Supplementary question, Carmel Sepuloni.
Why is she still going ahead with the collection of private client data from social services when 62% of people felt that data should not be shared between organisations as the risks outweighed the benefits? Numerous social service providers have spoken out against it, as well as privacy lawyer Catherine Dalziel and University of Canterbury Dean of Law Ursula Chair. Is it because she thinks she is right and all of these service users and experts are wrong?
Mr Speaker,
Honourable Anne Tolley.
As I've said many times before, we need this information so that we can better understand what services people need and use. That means we can target our funding to those services that New Zealanders find most beneficial and that actually produce results. Collecting and sharing this information is essential if we're to ensure that people don't fall through the cracks and that we are supporting the most vulnerable in our community. MSD and now the Ministry for Vulnerable Children, Oranga Tamariki, spend $330 million of taxpayers' money every year providing social services in our communities. It is everyone would desire that that money would be spent efficiently and effectively, and that's what we're attempting to do.
Supplementary question.
Supplementary question, Carmel Sepuloni.
How can her and her department continue to railroad social service providers for private client data using their funding when last night she had to shut down the portal where providers submit their data because it was compromised?
Mr.
Honourable
Speaker.
Anne Tolley.
Mr Speaker, I understand that the Ministry was made aware that a provider's folder, which did not contain any information or content, was viewable by other users of the system. As a result, no, it had no content in it. As a result of that portal and the light of that technical issue, I met with the chief executives of MSD and Vulnerable Children Oranga Tamariki this morning and insisted that we stop using that DIA portal because I do not have the level of confidence required in the system. I have instructed them to go away and come up with an alternative solution. And I have also asked that that alternative solution will be independently assessed, and I would welcome the Privacy Commissioner involvement in that system development.
Supplementary question.
Supplementary question, Carmel Sepuloni.
If the Privacy Commissioner's report that is due to be released to the public tomorrow recommends delaying or cancelling altogether the government's plan for private client data sharing requirements for contracted social services, will she put in place his recommendations?
The Honourable Anne Tolley.
Well, Mr Speaker, the Privacy Commissioner has not even released his report, so it would be most inappropriate for me to comment on it. I don't have responsibility for his report, But what I can say is I welcome his report, and I will be asking both MSD and the Ministry for Vulnerable Children, Oranga Tamariki, for advice on the matters that he raises. But as I say, I met with him recently, and I look forward to working with him to address any concerns that he may have.
Question number 12.